Going to call the meeting in order. We'll start with the pledge to the flag. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Again, first order of business is public comment. Not seeing any public. We have a resolution later. I think it's like number 14 regarding the Shaker Museum's request. But I said I'd move Dana as the representative of the Shaker Museum up now to give a little bit of a pitch for what they're looking at. Desiree and I met with them, how long ago, a month or so ago. And then we were up there again today with Claudia, the executive director, and Dana, and what was it, Megan?
Oh, yeah, Megan.
And we're bouncing some things around. So I'm going to let Dana go, and if we have any questions, we can ask him. I don't want Dana to have to sit through this whole, process, the resolutions on the end.
I love municipal politics.
Careful.
I'm serious.
Well, good for you.
I live in Pittsfield though, so I go to those ones.
So go ahead.
Yeah. So thank you, Mayor Howe and everyone for. I didn't bring anything prepared, but I did bring some printouts of some Cantelli tents that we were looking at. Thank you for taking the time to hear us out. We are planning, well, we're at Shaker Museum. I'm sure you've seen the big hall down the street. That's going to be our future home. And we've been in the area for 75 years, and up until now we've been in Old Chatham. So we have a very big fundraising push going on this year so that we can meet our goals with this new building that is going up. And one of those ways of accomplishing these fundraising goals is our gala. In the past it's been called usually the garden party, but I don't think it'll be called that this year because it's not in a garden. And so our new executive director, Claudia Gould, has some really grand ideas about how she would like to have this party in the street. And so the request that we put in, and I also want to preface this by saying that we put in this request as early as she thought of it, so that we would have time to refine it or go back to the drawing board, if it were to be, something that was not deemed feasible. So that's why I'm here with you tonight, and also why I don't have a lot of supporting materials, like to show you what the plan is. But so based on what we met with Desiree and Mayor Howe today, based on what we discussed with them, we were looking at closing off the segment between Austerlitz, on Austerlitz Street, between the railroad and where it V's with River Street, and that is the proposed request. It would be on the day of June 28th, which is a Saturday, and then it would reopen at some time, and then probably at around midnight, however long it would take them to deconstruct the tents. So one of the things that we were talking about, which is in the original application, was we had originally thought, well, maybe we'll do a really big tent, and that obviously is not going to work for a number of reasons that I appreciate you laying them out for us. So this is, I apologize. These are just some tents that Cantelli has on the website that are a little bit. Yeah. So this is what we're envisioning. Is they're basically pop-up tents that would be in the street, and the people who would be eating at the sit-down event would be sitting under these tents. And there would be enough room, based on the measurements, the rough estimate measurements of the street, that would allow the passage of 12 feet for emergency vehicles or anything of that nature that needs to go down. And then we would, after the sit-down event, we would then open the party. It's a ticketed event. Then we would open the party up to anyone who wanted to come, and it would be sort of a dance party, nothing wild. We were thinking about maybe line dancing, but don't quote us on that. We have a couple of really enthusiastic line dance fans on our staff. But so that would be basically the premise. And did I say that it would start at 6 and then wind down in the evening? And while the dance party was happening, we would have our Cantelli taking down these tents. So that way they would either be just put off into the Pizza Den parking lot for the night and then collected in the morning, or taken with them at night. I'm not quite sure yet about what that would look like, but the means of doing so would mean that the road would open back up during the evening. And there would be another tent in the Pizza Den parking lot, but that would be for catering and things like that. And I think that is more or less. I'm happy to answer questions.
Well, let me help you out a little bit, because Desiree's got the permit. An estimate of 300 people for the gala. Parking obviously was a question. Claudia and Dana have worked on that. They're going to have shuttle buses to park off site. They're going to have to work on it themselves. A couple of things we talked about was they haven't met Chief Alessi yet, and Aaron, who had a chance to look at the permit. Aaron's concerns as a code enforcement officer is the tent, egress and stuff. That would not be a problem with this. We do these festivals, and we talked to Dana. They'll have to reach out to Joe after tonight. We have to suspend the open container law, and of course the caterer would have to be licensed and all that. They are looking at opening it to the public at some point, because I didn't think, it was just me, but I didn't think the board would accept the fact we're going to close the village street for a private function without allowing public interaction. So the first portion of this, correct me if I'm wrong, would be the gala would be ticketed, they'd have a dinner, then they'd open it to the public. So then we'd be closing it for the gala right on through till whenever it's done. One of the early calls was they were going to have a tent, a large tent. We weren't sure what they were going to do, and they were going to potentially leave it up overnight. I didn't think that would be appropriate with emergency services and police, that at the end of the function, and as Dana just alluded to, they would clear the street. Whatever happens in the parking lot happens in the parking lot. When it comes to supplying police, and again, we haven't had this conversation, and we won't solve it tonight, but they are willing to compensate the village for, as the fair does, for the use of police officers just on the traffic patrol. They are going to hire their own security for inside. However that works, and I said maybe you can help them with that. But from a village standpoint, closing the street, which we do, Joe, I'm not going to speak for Joe, but we have our hazard mitigation barriers, and we'd have to have a few officers around just to have around for those hours, but they would be willing to compensate the village for those patrols, unlike some of the other festivals we have. I don't think you have anything to add to that quick. We need to have a sit down.
Yeah, we just need to work out logistics, but I don't see why.
So I want to be able, when Dana leaves here tonight, to be able to say to her, to Claudia, it's not a hard no. And I can't speak for you. We have a resolution later, and I don't want Dana to stay here all night, because there's not a lot of people here that are going to be asking questions. But I want you all
What about that residential house, that apartment, that house that's right there on Austerlitz?
That would not
Is
be a
anybody
problem.
living here?
Yes, that would not be a problem.
Oh, yeah, the people, the apartment building that's right across, yeah, that would be something that I have yet to pinpoint exactly how we would incorporate our immediate neighbors, but
We can work on it.
But we would work on that, and obviously, we don't want people to feel as though they're exiled to their homes or
No.
that they can't join us.
I think meeting them ahead of time, we could work that out, and Jack Shear owns that building.
That's what I was wondering if he had bought it.
So, just to add a little.
Yeah, really, the same thing goes, we just have to work out logistics, because we'll have to shut down. 1811's parking lot will be completely closed, as well as the auto parts, the auto store there, the garage. So all those, in order to secure the area, all of that would be blocked, and then railroad tracks would basically be the barrier on the other side of the street, or the other end of the street. So there's some logistics we have to work out, but I don't see why we can't. Some catering logistics and how we move food and people, without moving vehicles, so.
Yeah.
But I don't see it as, a huge issue, Just some things that we haven't done before.
I'm sorry, what time did you say the event would start?
I believe 6 p.m.
What time's the public part portion of it start?
That I'm not sure, but I would sort of estimate like maybe 8 or 9 p.m.
Now, the tents obviously have to be set up ahead of time, so we'd have to close the street, like as we do with Summerfest, a couple hours prior to the event, obviously, or more. But the original wasn't original pitch. They were looking at River Street also, and we thought that just wouldn't work for the residential thoroughfare, and there was too many complications for that. That was an option, but we talked briefly that Austin Street for that section widen up, and as we spoke earlier today, you can't block the whole street because we have to have access and egress in the event of an emergency.
I have a question, John. Is it really one day? Because in here it says June 27th to June 28th.
Yeah, and I think part of that is the permit process for the insurance stuff. They have to cover it for a couple of days. We've really, we talked this morning, and we're going to have to talk more, obviously, when Joe gets involved, everything's open at midnight. For all intents and purposes, the street's open at midnight, but they're still going to have some peripheral stuff going on in the parking lots and stuff. So I think 2 days is probably a wise thing to put on a permit. But the bulk of it will be from, like, say, 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon until midnight. Correct me if I'm wrong.
And we can also resubmit an application. This was sort of done based on guessing about things.
Okay.
So, and which I realize is probably not the customary thing when you submit an application for a permit, but we just wanted to get it in and
Oh,
get on
no,
the
this is
docket.
customary.
Oh, okay.
They're a work in progress.
Okay, thank
No,
you.
they're a work in progress. And the fact that you're here now this early, and it's really not this early, when you start to plan a big function on your end of things, you need to know that you have the ability to do it and then make those plans. They're going to be our neighbors, our friends, and it's going to be a great anchor for, at some point going forward.
Live music, like a stage?
I'm not envisioning, and I have not heard anything about live music. I think that there might be during the sit down maybe a little bit of background music, and then there would be music, probably a DJ or something afterward for the street party for folks to come to.
And that was a question they had about a noise ordinance, which we do not have, but they want to be sensitive to their neighbors also, that we're running a party at 2 o'clock in the morning. So if that helps you with some of that. Any other questions?
The shuttle arrangement, you're going to be,
So I'm not sure
we're
whether.
talking small buses or?
I had proposed, that we could propose like a small shuttle party bus type of thing that came down from 29 Jones Ave, which is where we have our
That's right, you have your
Yeah,
facility
our
up there.
facility there. And there may be another lot that Jack owns that I'm not aware of, but, so it may be that there will be 2 buses, but we're hoping to finesse that in a way that we can kind of just bring people down and drop them off, and then bring the buses back up to 29 Jones Avenue until people are ready to go home.
Where's the drop off? Where do you think the drop off would be?
I would guess, I would guess that, you know, when you go over the railroad tracks going down, and there is a sort of a portion of the cement that was cleared before, you know, they cleared the building, and there's some flat ground there, so that would be our, I would say probably where we would go, so that way, like, it wouldn't be too far into the crowd, and people could debark, and then, you know.
You know, I think that's something that Joe's gonna have to sign off on to the extent that, you know, the logistics of moving people. But that's a good question, is
Yeah.
we need to think about all those things.
Let's just say that intersection.
Yeah, the intersection that's a terrible intersection, but it should be controlled to some extent with police. That's a discussion that's yet to have, but they're thinking along those lines, and they came with that. We didn't even, they were already thinking ahead about that, so.
Yeah, and we were also thinking about, and this is also something we have to kind of figure out, is for any folks that are, you know, have limited mobility that would be coming, we would have a couple of spots set aside down at the site, so that way they could park there. And again, that is also sort of we're still thinking about how that would work.
Anybody else?
Do we know what the menu is?
Ralph, do you line dance?
I had 6 months.
You do, or you could just come that night.
Dana, do you have anything else for us, questions or anything? And again, I know you have a lot of questions, and you're gonna go back and think of a lot of things, but I think you got the feel for where we're at.
Yeah,
And the key here is to meet with Joe and, you know, and sit down, carve some time out, an hour or 2, and sit down and work a little bit tighter on the logistics, if that's okay.
Yeah, definitely.
well, I definitely appreciate your willingness to let us tighten up the logistics. And the only other thing I have to say is that I don't have a business card. We're in the process of getting new ones printed, but my email address is drasso, R-A-S-S-O, at shakermuseum.us. And my cell number is 917-554-6582, 917-554-6582. Oh, I just realized I'm broadcasting to the public. But please feel free to reach out to me with any questions. It doesn't have to do with the gala. It could be anything to do with Shaker Museum, because I want to be able to represent us in the best possible way, and the best possible way for me to do that is to have folks understanding, you know, what we're doing, what our vision is, and what's going on.
We appreciate it, and again, as I said earlier today, you go through Desiree and Sam, they'll distribute. If you have a question, you don't know where it should go, shoot it to them, and they'll keep everybody in the loop.
Right.
Anybody got any other questions? Desiree, we talked today, anything we missed? I think we talked about everything. Thank you. You're more than welcome to stay for the next 35, 40 minutes. You don't have to. We're going to move that resolution, I'm sure. I don't think anybody's opposed to that. And the resolution basically, let me back up. We're not going to vote on it at this point, but it basically says to approve the permit application for the use of municipal facilities submitted by Shaker Museum or Library dated January 5th, requesting the use of Austin Street for the annual gala fundraising and community appreciation event to be held on June 27th, is that correct?
I think it's actually June 28th, Saturday.
No, Sunday's the 28th.
Oh, is it?
So it's June
Okay.
27th.
I thought we had the date wrong on it, so.
And it says set up 9 AM, event 5 to 12 AM, and we don't have to hold you to that, to June 28, 2026. And then it says in here, all documents required for use in this property have been submitted to the clerk. So that's the resolution. We're not going to go on it yet until we get to that point.
Okay, well, I'm happy to
Okay.
stick around.
It's up to you. Okay,
For the fun.
we'll move on to department reports. We'll start with building. Aaron's not here. Okay, we're moving on. Joe, you're up.
All right. Training, so we started our 2026 mandatory training. Our first in-person mandatory training will be in January. And that's where we cover all of our policy updates, legal updates, and things like that that are required by both accreditation and by New York State law. Still working through the safe cities as it pertains to LPRs and DFR. We had a scheduling challenge this week with Pete, so we'll get connected and work through that some more. The alarm system was installed in the building for the police department, as well as the panic buttons have been put in for the village staff, both treasurer and clerk's office. Grant writer, the Lexipol grant writer did its first summary. Obviously, it's early in 2026, so a bunch of the grants haven't actually released dates yet, firm dates, but they did identify 6 or 7 grants that both apply to the emergency services building and apply for the police department itself for some other items that we had listed there. So we're looking forward to getting started on that as soon as we get some firm releases, which we're hoping will happen by February 1st. I do have a new hire, but we will chat about that when we get to that resolution. Community outreach, we scheduled a search and rescue, wilderness search and rescue, that's going to be offered to both the fire department, police department, and sheriff's office is going to attend as well, put on by NCON, or Forest Services, Forest Ranger, on doing wilderness searches, so that we have some trained folks in this upper area to assist when someone goes missing, or sheriff's office and the county needs assistance. That is all I have for now.
Any questions for Joe?
Thank you.
One thing I'll add to that is we're starting police negotiations Thursday. Pete and I will be part of that, and their 3-year contract is up. Actually, patrolman's 3-year contract is up. The supervisors come up next year, so that's, just stay tuned. We have no information to add to that other than it started. Fire, we'll have Chief Genovese wearing a couple hats tonight.
Alright, so I'm sure you guys already read through this whole thing, because Eric gets these things done super early, and I'm just gonna breeze through it, because there's a lot here. But we had 6 calls last month. Nothing too major. We did have one call that tickled the electric throughout the whole county, so if you lost power last week, we had a pretty serious accident up on 203, which took out the main artery of electric lines through town. This week we are holding our annual refresher training, going over all the right to know, bloodborne pathogens, sexual harassment, hazmat. And then, this Saturday we're going to be doing our interior guys in their mandatory SCBA mass confidence training. Equipment-wise, all of our air packs are due for inspection and service, which is going to be done here at the end of the month. Eric put in here that we have an issue with one of our thermal imaging cameras, and he didn't put this in here, but I just wanted to explain that it's not because it's misused or anything like that. It's aging out. It's an older camera. It's well over 10 years old. The cost to repair these things gets to a point where it exceeds the cost of replacement. But fortunately, one of the reasons why we keep Eric around is because he's pretty good at writing grants. And he wrote a grant that'll hopefully cover the cost of replacing that camera. Going over to apparatus, everything's in pretty good working order. Our rescue pumper does have a bad valve, it's minor, it's still operational. It's gonna get repaired before it gets its pump testing, probably the beginning of next month. The new brush truck, yes, we do have the truck. I have, working with Trish and our procurement policy, secured a lot of the components needed individually. I've got some of the toolboxes, some of the steel I need to actually building the hitch for the truck now. The flatbed is coming next week. That's still taking a little time to modify that to work for the application that we're doing. We've also, we'll talk about it some more later, the pump, tank, and all of the parts needed to build the fire suppression portion of the truck we have found through Sourcewell. We'll cover some more of that later if you guys have any questions on that. Moving through here, we're down on active responders as compared to 2020. I think a lot of that actually has to do with just statistics and numbers when it comes to storms. We had a lot of calls last year, but we didn't have those calls where, you know, we had 20, 30 guys at the firehouse and then we get banged out for 5, 6, 7 calls. Those really beef your numbers up. We didn't have any storms last year. Overall, I think actually our response is really good. We had an alarm activation the other day. I think we had 16 guys. You know, I mean, it's same thing with that car accident. We had almost 20 members. Eric's working on the state of the department report. He probably will have that for you guys next board meeting. And then finally, our Santa's mailbox was really successful this year. We had over 200 kids show up. We actually ran out of toys, and we had to send members out to like Walgreens and wherever else we put the dollar store just to replenish some toys before the night was over. And the excess toys, I believe they donated. That's it.
Thank you, Phil.
Yeah.
Any questions on that? Let me just comment, Eric had in there 6 calls for the month. We've done 6 calls since Friday.
Yeah. Yeah.
Friday night, since Friday till yesterday, last night.
Yeah.
We did 6 calls, so that's how it goes. You'll go 30 days with 6 calls, and you'll do 6 calls in 2 days. So, it's the nature of the beast.
It's you in the night this time, right?
Yeah. And last night's call was at 11:30. You know.
So that's, yeah. All right, Phil, we're gonna go to DPW.
All right. I got a much shorter report. I feel like as busy as I've been this last month, I don't really have anything productive to talk about, other than we're at 237 of our 275 planned water meter upgraded. Our goal was 275 by June 1st, because that's kind of like a third of the village. And we're making good headway with that. For sewer, we started the relining gig down on Hudson Avenue. All the TVing and cleaning is done. We did find that there was an additional like 303 feet of pipe that was in really rough shape. But mind you, a lot of this pipe was installed back in 1938. It's all old clay tile. It's 10 to 12 feet in the ground. A lot of water infiltration, and we kind of targeted this area because this area feeds our pump station. So the less infiltration we have in this section will actually save us on our pumping hours at our pump station, less wear and tear. And Citroform had agreed to complete the additional footage at the same cost per foot as the original project. And then for the highway end of things, I mean, we've just been hammered with these little nuisance storms, you know, running around salting things, plowing snow, picking up Christmas trees. We did have a breakdown. Our tractor burnt out the PTO clutch, so, of course, the dealerships, they're backed up for months on repairs, so we took it upon ourselves to split the tractor in our shop and repair it, and it's back together now, working. It was a bit of an extensive project, but we won, so that's all I got.
Let me back to the fire department. Phil's talking about this brush truck. We allocated, it's part of this process as we go forward with some of the resolutions, $100,000 for this project. And Phil and Andy are doing the yeoman's part of the work. They're physically doing the work. That's not a cost to the village. Again, we allocated $100,000 for the type of equipment they're going to get. Online today, Phil showed me a little while ago, the same truck outfitted from an outfitter's $280,000. That's a savings of $180,000.
Nice.
And then go back to this tractor, because that's kind of some of what I do is poke my nose in the shop down there. And it was an extensive repair to break that tractor in pieces. And Corey, I'm not going to give you a lot of credit, Corey was right in there doing the work. So we're doing it in-house. I don't know what the savings is, but it's considerable.
I would say thousands, thousands of dollars in labor,
You
just
know,
to replace $1,500 in parts, but it would have been,
yeah, $300 an hour labor.
you're talking about probably a 20 to 30 hour project on book time, so.
So there's the things that we need to champion. I want to champion is, and the same thing goes with PD. I mean, Joe's out there grabbing grants and stuff like that. And I'm not sure all the public sees that day. You get your tax bill and it's like, why did it go up? Or it shouldn't have gone up, because ours haven't gone up. But the reason why they don't go up is these guys are out there knocking it out of the park every day. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That is amazing.
Aaron,
Yes,
you're up.
all right. So for the month, I only had 2 residential permits, 1 commercial planning and zoning permit issued, 2 fire inspections were done, 1 new complaint, 5 sidewalk complaints, 3 title searches, 2 residential and 2 commercial COCCs, 4 permit inspections, 8 complaint inspections, and 1 placarding. And 2,726 payments were received. For the year, I also included that, everybody here. There's 66 permits, 16 total commercial plan and zoning, 5 fire inspections, 65 complaints total, 33 title searches, 66 residential COCCs, 28 commercial, 86 permit inspections, 90 complaint inspections, and 40,071 payments were received. $40,071.
And that's from one person working 2 days a week. Questions for Aaron? Aaron, thank you. Well, while you're here, this is Dana from the Shaker Museum. We met again, Desiree and I went up there today, we've had a long conversation before you came in. I recommended she reach out to Joe, and she's going to do it to you guys, and maybe have a sit down, but they're going to move that gala forward, and they have some great ideas, but I want to make sure they have that introduction. Okay. All right, I need a motion to approve the minutes of December 8, 2025.
Motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Need a motion to approve the December 2025 budget actuals. Motion? Motion. Second?
Second.
All in favor? New business, resolution 1 to authorize the mayor to sign the town again fire protection contract from January 1st, 2026 to December 31st, 2026 in the amount of $29,284.
Motion.
Motion, second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution 2 to authorize the DPW to hold the annual bulk trash drop-off days during the week of May 11th to 14th. A motion?
Motion.
And a second.
Second.
Just an FYI, it's gonna cost us more money now because the county's doing something different with their fee structure, but still has to be done.
Yeah, I didn't realize that.
You might want to reach out to.
I will now that I'll call them to reserve the
Yeah.
dumpsters.
Yeah, because because we.
Last year though, we only used one 30-yard dumpster,
Well,
so.
all in favor? All right, resolution 3 to authorize Bowden Palladino, our DPW news guy, to attend sewer school at SUNY Morrisville, and there's the dates. At a cost of course registration, $1,700, reimbursement of federal mileage rate at .725, and a $50 a day daily meal allowance. And as it's in there, this is the first step to get him to level 1A. Level 1A is an assistant wastewater treatment supervisor. Can I get a motion?
Motion.
And a second. This is good stuff. The kid's shown a lot of initiative. Phil's mentoring him. It's good stuff. All in favor? Resolution 4 to approve CPD hiring Shay O'Brien at a pay rate of $26.01 an hour immediately, contingent upon successful completion of background check, medical examination, and psych evaluation. Can I get a motion? Motion. And a second.
Second.
P.I. and the chief, they've done extensive interviews. We also interviewed with her last week, and we recommend moving this forward. If you got anything to add to that?
She's in the academy right now. She'll graduate mid-March, and she'll be doing her time, field training time, and then on the road from there.
Okay, all in favor? Resolution 5 to grant sewer relief for a period of 8/19/25 to 9/9/25 in the amount of $49.86 to Phil Hayner at 9 Railroad Avenue. Can I get a motion?
Motion.
A second. Any questions? Hearing none, all in favor? Some of this is going to get a little wordy, so I'm going to skip through some of this. But Resolution 6, to approve the village board of trustees to formally set aside and appropriate the sum of $89,900.00 from the unassigned appropriated fund balance line 917 for the purposes of upgrades to the clerk's office and necessary renovations to the trace. Can I get a motion?
Motion.
And a second. Second. What this is, these were all done a few years ago, but they weren't done correctly. We set up reserves when in fact it should have been assigned unappropriate. It's a Ken thing, so it's being done properly. These were already assigned, or reserved 3 years ago. Any questions on that? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Resolution 7 is similar to that, to formally set aside and appropriate the sum of $20,000 from the unassigned unappropriate balance budget line for the purpose of preliminary stages of investigating the feasibility of a new safety building. Motion
Motion.
and a second. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
That money actually will be used for some of the stuff that Ralph's doing right now. We had some surveying done, so that the preliminary work for this potential new public safety building is coming out of that line. Resolution 8, again, to formally set aside and appropriate the sum of $100,000. And again, it's going towards the fire department brush truck. Can I get a motion? Motion. And a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Didn't we do something with this before?
We did, but this is just
Oh,
making it
same thing.
formal, it's a
Okay.
formal legal process that.
The resolution before was to buy it
Okay.
and bid for it.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So this is to pay, and
This is to set aside the funds for it.
Okay, thank you.
which sounds backwards, but, and it probably was.
Yeah.
But we're here
We
now
got it,
correcting.
sorry.
Resolution 9, again, to approve the formally set aside appropriate sum of $30,000 towards DPW highway rehabilitation. Can I get a motion?
Motion.
And a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Now, these I'm not going to read, but you can read them for yourself. The budget amendments go in line with what these resolutions were. So you're moving it from one budget line to another. So I need a motion on resolution number 10
Motion.
and a second. And
Second.
that's regarding the brush truck. All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution 11, I need a motion
Motion.
and a second.
Second.
This has to do with the safety building, that $20,000, the Lexipol. All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution 12, this is different, the mayor, to authorize the mayor to sign an intermunicipal agreement between the Village of Chatham and the Village of Galatia effective January 1st. Here we are, formalizing the Village of Galatia to provide a licensed wastewater treatment plant operated in Chatham for for the purpose of operation, monitoring, according to Chatham wastewater treatment plant operations until such time as Chatham can employ a licensed operator to assume such duties. Can I get a motion?
Motion.
And a second?
Second.
And what we're doing is we're using them to give us a little hand. Phil's got to finish up some of the schoolwork. This will go away. In the meantime, the village relations attorney and our attorney thought it would be good to have an agreement.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution 13 to approve the purchase, CFD purchase, and you can see the pump and engine unit, tank, and the components per quote of $28,954.74. Can I get a motion?
Motion.
And a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution 14 to approve the permit application for the use of municipal facilities submitted by the Shaker Museum and Library. And again, I've read that before. Can I get a motion?
Motion.
And a second?
Second.
Any further questions? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Resolution 15, to authorize the mayor to sign an agreement with Always Crystal Clean. Krista Talarico for a weekly Tracy Village offices cleaning according to the proposal date of December 30th, 2025 at $330 cleaning visit. The town Chatham court space upstairs is not included. Can I get a motion
Motion.
and a second? And
Second.
let me explain that, because this is considerably more than what we're paying already. The service that we've been receiving has been less than satisfactory with the current cleaners. They come once a week. It hasn't been good for a while. We've had some inter-office communications, and we thought it would be best to try to go out and look. I reached out to 3 different vendors. This was the only one. I had one, actually I had 2. This one's one of them, and I had another one that was interested, never followed up. So I did reach out to 3. This particular person came here, met with Desiree and myself, and Desiree took her through the building, and we have a list of kind of, this is what we want done, and she was even a little bit over and above that, what she was supplying, and not just 2 people, but a whole crew to come in here. And we were very impressed with her. She's local. She does many of the businesses. She does a number of businesses on Main Street. She seemed very excited. She seemed very engaged. When you look at the numbers, if you want to go numbers, we stay with the cleaner we had, and we have what we pay for. This cost also picks up the food pantry downstairs, because we never used to take care of that. I just thought it was for a few extra dollars to pick up the cost of the food pantry. We'll give back to the community.
Right.
I think that's just, so that's kind of where we're at. Desiree, do you have anything to add to that? I mean,
She seemed, she was pointing things out as we walked through. Not that, she wasn't knocking the other group, she was
Right.
saying this, we would do this.
Sure. That's
She was
great.
very thorough.
The clean windows.
what were we
The
paying?
spot cleaning. glass.
What were we paying? It was 180 or?
It was $300 a month.
It's
Oh, so
300
it's
a
not
month.
that much
It's
money.
300
Oh, for the
a week.
whole month, I
Yeah.
gotcha.
Right.
It's $9,600 more a year, and we understand that, we have to budget for that. Quite frankly, it wasn't good. And, have the public look. Back before this, we had basically a DPW, I don't know, work for the DPW, we had
He worked for us partially, and then he worked up
He was
here.
like a full-time employee
Yeah.
who, was here, but wasn't getting done either. So we went from that full-time employee to just once a week. And that seems to be sufficient, but it wasn't getting done. When you come in with a bucket like this and mop this whole floor after a snow event.
So this includes your restrooms too, then? No, this does not?
No,
No, he's chosen not to. Any other questions, comments? Hearing none, all in favor? This will start, what we decide, February 1st. Resolution 16, to authorize the mayor to sign the county Chatham Fire Protection 3-year contract, starting in January 1st till December of 2029. The amount is $44,797 this year. That's a 3% increase over last year. It'll be 3% next year, and it'll be 2% the third year. Can I get a motion?
Motion.
And a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
This is a new resolution to approve an additional 303 feet of sewer line in Hudson Avenue, a total of $10,302. Excuse me, it's the same rate, $34 a foot, so it's basically an extension of the contract we currently have for the 1,000 feet. And you can see where they're gonna be doing that. They discovered that when they were doing this initial 1,000 feet, and it makes sense rather than wait till next budget year, come back and do it again. We'll look at the line and see if, first, let me have a motion
Motion.
in a second.
Second.
We'll look and see what's left in that line. If not, we'll reach into the unappropriated fund balance to get that done. It only makes sense. It needs to be done. Any questions on that? All in favor? And resolution 18, to authorize the clerk to advertise for requests for qualification for engineering consultant firms for engineering services for the Village of Chatham Well Development Project. Can I get a motion? And a second. We had a Teams meeting today. The entire office staff, Ralph, Ken, myself, and Phil with Labellas, who have guided us to this point on the well development project. We were successful in getting over $5 million. But because of the type of funding that's involved, we have to advertise for engineering services. So the potential exists, they may not be the ones, or they may. There's a process, it's pretty detailed, and it's pretty timely. Desiree has to get these advertisements out like starting like Friday. We'll get the, and again, I'm going to keep the committee to myself, Ralph, and Phil, because as these come in, we just don't have the time to get together. We can't do it on a monthly basis. We want to have this done, and the engineering firm selected for our March meeting to post to the March Village Board. This is who we looked at. And if we were all going to do this evaluation, I think it would take months, quite frankly. So that's kind of what we're looking at. Anything to add to that, Ralph?
No, I started taking a look at the RFQ, so I'll have some comments to you maybe tomorrow if there's anything I see.
And what we'll do is we'll keep everybody in the loop when we're doing this, so that you're all, which is just the process. It could be pretty cumbersome. So,
Thanks for being so proactive and getting out.
the beauty also in here, we are again, we talk about what everybody does for the village, but Ralph, with his architectural background and stuff, when you talk, it's nice having somebody in the room that can understand that, so. I'm sorry, but I'm going to back up. Did I get a motion for that in a second?
I think you did.
Yeah,
For 18, yes.
all in favor?
Aye.
A few items for discussion. Village elections on Wednesday, not Tuesday, because of St. Patty's Day. We can make a command decision and move that around. Let me go back to Resolution 125 of 2025, back in October. Again, that establishes the polling place, so you can see that. Again, it's March 18th from noon to 9 p.m. We've been kicking this around, the 250th celebration plans committee. I'm having a hard time getting involved in that at this point. I thought it would be a great idea, but I see so much is going on across the county for this. If anybody has any ideas, something we can do.
250 is for the county or
No.
the state or for the village?
For the country. So everybody's doing something a little bit different. I mean, it's during the course of this whole year, and I know a lot of municipalities are doing something. I was thinking maybe do something during Summerfest, whether we get some extra music, early call with some fireworks or something, but I know the fair is going to be doing some fireworks, and I don't want to scare everybody's dogs every weekend. So that could be something we can talk about again. The municipal well branching awards results and the next steps moving forward. And again, we hit the ground running today. Some of the questions we had going forward is when would we put a shovel in the ground? Phil had asked that question. Desiree had asked kind of some benchmarks of, okay, now we got this money, how's this project work? We were told, again, we have to go through this first part, this request for qualifications. But the chances are we would not put a shovel in the ground until the end of summer of 2027, next summer. That gives you an idea how much hoops and logistics and stuff have to be lined up before we get to actually punching a hole in the ground. So Phil was kind of happy with that because here we are, 2026. It's kind of hard to start clearing land, and it takes time to do those things. So that's one of the things we discussed today. As this project goes on, it takes a while. Ken even, he had a good analogy as a turning to the city of Hudson. They had a bridge they wanted to replace, and they basically said if you have the money in your pocket today to replace that bridge, it'll be 4 years before you do it. It's just because of all the permits and all this kind of stuff. So it just gives you an idea, and we'll keep everybody involved. The next one is communication, a committee for parking policy, and it applies to parking policy and snow and ice. We've received a number of complaints in these last 2 or 3 storms, not unlike years past. We tend to, I believe, just poo-poo it, and okay, the sun's going to come up tomorrow, it'll go away, all go away. I don't think that's the best way to handle it. So I'm going to propose that we set up a committee of Ralph and Karen, Joe, and Phil, short term, to sit down and look at our codes from top to bottom, some of them 1980 stuff, and look at the whole thing, whether it's a matter of we hire a contractor to clean everybody's sidewalk, and I'm just throwing stuff out, or we continue down the road, we're going, I'm sorry, Aaron's part of that also, committee, as the code enforcement officer. But I want you to carve out time where you can sit down in the evening and not, come back next month, we'll have another discussion, type of thing. We're not going to solve anything for this season, but if we can get something, so for next snow season, Joe's got some concerns about parking, and when we get into emergency, snow emergencies, legal issues, and of course Ken's going to have to look at this. So
Wasn't that sidewalk portion fairly new?
the sidewalk portion is, but we want to take another look at it because as it applies to, it depends on how many complaints you receive and Phil's capabilities with his machinery and his manpower. It may very well stay the way it is. Parking's an issue, but we've had some people in here with some very legitimate complaints.
Oh, yeah.
And I think some of it, and I don't want to get too deep in the weeds, is landlords, absentee landlords who rent and then aren't doing the best job they can to maintain the sidewalk, but we can have that conversation. So that was the pitch. Okay, the next one was local law 5, and that goes along with what I just talked about. Last thing is I threw something out there, everybody chatting, the village chatting for 20-25 year review. It was kind of like, thank you very much. I think we've accomplished a lot in the last year. I think as we spoke tonight, there's a lot of great things coming down the pipe, and I appreciate everybody's effort. And again, we're doing the Shaker Museum, Crane Theater, they cut the ribbon this year. There's a lot going on, and I completely appreciate what everybody does. And our department heads and our office staff are second to none. And as I said, it's the village of Chatham against the world. Anybody got anything else to add?
But that was amazing that you put that together, because you just forget about so many things that happen and you just keep going forward. So thank you for doing that, because it was a lot.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's all good. Public comment? None? Dana, you got anything you want to add? You want to get out of here, just go see your boyfriend? Have
I'm
dinner.
not that excited to see it. I'm excited for dinner.
So maybe it's more.
Just to let you know that we are being taped here.
Yes.
I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
Motion.
In a second.